The night was quiet now. Storm had passed, leaving only the soft sound of wind brushing against the tent. Inside, the air was warm, and the light from the small heater glowed gently. Lucas Reeve woke first. His body was stiff from sleeping in an awkward position. His tent wasn't made for guests, especially not alien royalty. He turned his head and saw her. Queen Valari was still sitting cross-legged, eyes closed, hands resting calmly on her lap. She hadn't slept. She looked like a statue still, peaceful, glowing faintly in the dark. "Don't you sleep?" Lucas asked quietly. Her eyes opened slowly. "Not when I am far from home." Lucas sat up. "Don't you get tired?" "Of course. But in my culture, sleeping near others shows trust. I do not sleep lightly when surrounded by strangers." Lucas stretched his arms. "Guess I should be honored then." Valari gave him a small nod. "You did not draw your weapon while I rested. That is enough honor for me." Lucas smiled. "Well, it's not every day an alien queen crashes in my tent." She tilted her head slightly, curious. "You joke often? Is it a human custom?" "Helps us deal with stress," he said. "Sometimes we laugh so we don't cry." Valari looked thoughtful. "Our people sing when they are afraid?" "Sing?" She tapped her staff, and it hummed softly. Then, in a low, melodic tone, she sang a few lines in her language. The sound was like the wind through glass, a little eerie, but beautiful. Lucas listened quietly. "That's not what I expected." "It is a lullaby," she explained. "From my childhood," he smiled. "It sounds peaceful." She looked at him closely. "May I ask you something?" "Sure. Why are you still here on this moon? You're young, strong. You could have left the war, gone home." Lucas looked away for a second. Then he spoke. "My older brother died in the second year of the war. He was a pilot. I joined to take his place. I couldn't just stay behind." Valari lowered her gaze. "Honor, I see." Lucas reached for the old photo taped to the tent wall, "and I promised Saru, my little sister, I'd protect people like he did." Valari nodded. "You carry your brother's shadow." "Yeah," Lucas whispered. "I do." There was a long silence. Then Valari did something unexpected. She reached out and gently touched the photo of Sira with her gloved hand. "I hope you returned to her safely," she said. Lucas looked at her. "You have children too, right?" "Yes, 2 daughters. They're very young. I have not seen them in many moons." "Do they know you're here?" "They know I serve peace," she replied. "But I do not tell them every risk. No mother would." Lucas leaned back, thinking. So even alien queens lie to their kids. Valari smiled faintly. "We do not call it lying. Call it protecting." Lucas laughed softly. "Yeah, same thing." The wind outside picked up again, shaking the thin fabric of the tent. The heater beeped once, warning the power cell was running low. Lucas stood and checked the battery. "I'll need to replace this in a few hours." Valari watched him move. "You are precise, efficient, comes with training. Your people train well," she said. "But not all humans show control like you. I have met many who look at me with hate." Lucas looked at her. "I don't hate you." "Why not?" he thought for a moment. "I've seen what hate does. It burns everything, leaves nothing behind." Valari looked at him with new eyes. "You would have made a fine Zarelian." Lucas chuckled. "Thanks. Not sure I'd fit in. You are a warrior with a calm heart. It is rare on any world." Later, as they shared dried fruit from Lucas's rations, the queen picked up a small metal object from the floor. It was a bent coin, something Lucas kept for luck. "What is this?" she asked. Lucas took it from her hand. "It's a coin from Earth. I found it on a battlefield my first day in combat. It reminded me of home, so I kept it. I believe sometimes the smallest things help us survive." Valari nodded. "Carry bone charms for the same reason." She reached into a pouch and pulled out a small shard of red crystal. "This was given to me by my daughter. She called it a piece of our world." She offered it to Lucas. He shook his head. "That's precious. I can't take it. I am not giving it. I am sharing it." She placed it gently beside his coin. 2 different tokens, 2 different worlds. But somehow, they looked right together. The quiet was broken by a sharp sound metal. Clicking against rock outside the tent, Lucas instantly grabbed his rifle. Valari stood as well, staff glowing faintly. He whispered, "Could be one of your guards checking in." She shook her head. "My guards do not walk with heavy feet." Lucas moved to the tent flap. Carefully he opened it just enough to look. Outside, a figure moved through the darkness, not human, and not wearing royal armor. Its skin was dull, and it held a blade instead of a staff. "Intruder," Lucas hissed. Valari stepped beside him, one of mine but not loyal, a rebel. Lucas's grip on the rifle tightened. "Stay inside." She touched his arm. "Careful." He nodded and slipped outside. The figure turned and hissed in Zarelian language. Lucas couldn't understand, but the meaning was clear. He was here to kill the queen. Lucas fired a warning shot, hitting the ground near the intruders. Feet. But the rebel didn't run. He leapt forward, fast and silent. Lucas rolled aside, fired again, missed. The rebel reached him and slashed with his blade. Lucas blocked it with the rifle, but the weapon broke in half. He fell back, unarmed. The alien raised the blade, but then a beam of white light shot across the ground. Valari stepped forward, her staff glowing with energy. "You dishonor our blood," she said in her native tongue. The rebel turned toward her, but Lucas tackled him. From behind, they fought on the ground, fists and elbows, until Lucas grabbed a sharp rock and struck the rebel's arm. Knocking the blade loose, Valari finished it with one clean strike from her staff, non-lethal, but enough to knock the traitor out cold. Breathing hard, Lucas stood. His hands were cut and bleeding. "You're hurt," Valari said, stepping closer. "I'm fine," he muttered, looking at the unconscious rebel. Why would he do this? "Not all Zarelians want peace," she said sadly. "Some still live in old anger." Lucas looked at her. "Could have killed you, but he didn't," she said, "because you were there." Back inside the tent, Valari opened a silver vial from her belt. "This will heal your wounds." She gently applied the glowing gel to his hands. The cuts closed quickly. The pain faded. Lucas looked at her, surprised. "That's advanced stuff. Do not use it for myself," she said. "Only for others." Their eyes met again. Silence fell once more, but this time it was full of something stronger than before. Not just respect, or not just understanding. Trust. Vael. Airy. Sat down again. "Sleep now. I will watch this time." Lucas smiled faintly. "Deal." And as he lay down, eyes closing, he whispered one final word. "Thanks." Valari didn't answer, but she watched him carefully, this strange, quiet human soldier who had protected her without question. The alien queen had chosen a simple tent out of instinct, but now she was beginning to wonder if it had been fate. The camp was quiet again. The wind had settled. The heater hummed softly. A strange peace returned to the small green tent where the alien queen and the human soldier sat together. Sergeant Lucas Reeve lay on his side, resting after the fight outside. His broken rifle lay in the corner, and his hands, now bandaged, still ached a little, though the alien healing gel had closed the wounds. Queen Valari sat across from him, legs crossed, staff resting by her side.
Out.
Her sharp black eyes stayed on the tent flap. She hadn't spoken in a while. "You're still watching?" Lucas asked sleepily. "I gave you my word," she said. "You watched while I rested. Now I return the duty." Lucas sat up slowly. "You don't trust your own people anymore, do you?" The queen didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, "Trust is not easy, especially after betrayal." Lucas nodded. "I've seen soldiers turn on each other too. When fear takes over, anything can happen." She studied him for a moment. "You speak like a leader." "I'm just a sergeant," he replied. "Leaders sit behind tables. I sit in dirt. You understand people?" "That is leadership," Lucas chuckled. "Maybe. But I prefer tents to offices." She smiled faintly. "So do I." Suddenly, a message came through Lucas's cum device. Beep. Alert human command security breach detected on South Ridge. All units remain alert. Enemy signal. Detected? Lucas and Valari both looked at each other at the same time. Could be another rebel, Lucas said, grabbing his backup pistol and his utility knife. I must be the target again, Valari said calmly. They would not waste this stormy night chasing anyone else. Lucas opened the flap and scanned the area. I'll check with the patrol near the ridge. You should stay here. Lock the tent. Valari placed her hand on his arm. Well, not go alone. He stared at her. You're a queen. Don't belong on the front lines. I was a warrior before I wore the crown, she said. Do not think me weak. Lucas sighed. Fine, but stay behind me. The two moved through the base, walking quietly past sleeping tents and patrol stations. A few soldiers nodded at Lucas as they passed. Some stared when they saw the queen walking beside him without guards. A human officer walked over. Sergeant Reeve. The South Patrol is missing. All signals cut off. Lucas frowned. How many soldiers were there? 4. No reports from them in the last 20 minutes. Queen Valeri's expression darkened. That's enough time for an assassin to slip through. Lucas looked at her. You know how they work? She said. Zarelian assassins are fast, silent, and cold. They are trained to hide in plain sight. If one is already inside this base, we are too late. Back at Lucas's tent, everything seemed normal. But Lucas had learned to trust his instincts, and something didn't feel right. Stay close, he whispered. He stepped inside first pistol. Raised, his eyes moved from corner to corner. Then he saw it. A small drop of green liquid on the tent floor. Not human blood. Zarelian blood. Someone was here, he muttered. Valari stepped in and saw it too. She moved quickly to check behind his gear crates. Suddenly, the tent flap slammed shut behind them. A dark figure dropped from above. He had been hiding inside. The tent's roof framed the whole time. The assassin lunged toward the queen. Lucas fired, missed. The assassin was too fast. Valari blocked the blade with her staff. Sparks flew. Lucas tackled the assassin from behind, slamming him into the tent pole. The fabric tore. Wind rushed inside. The heater fell and broke, sparks flying. The assassin hissed and threw Lucas to the ground. His face was half covered with a metal mask. His eyes were full of hatred. You disgrace our blood, he shouted at the queen in Zarelian. Valari stood tall. You bring shame to our people. The assassin struck again, but this time she moved like lightning, blocking his blade and slamming the end of her staff into his chest. But he didn't fall. He was strong, trained, unshaken. Lucas scrambled back up and grabbed his knife. The assassin spun and punched him in the stomach. Knocking the air from his lungs, Valari jumped between them, using her body as a shield. The assassin raised his blade high. No, Lucas roared, launching himself forward and tackling the assassin again. They fell together, crashing through the side of the tent. Rain poured down, mud splashed around them as they rolled across the ground. Fighting with fists and knives, the assassin sliced Lucas's shoulder. Blood ran down his arm. But Lucas didn't stop. He grabbed the alien's wrist, twisted hard, and forced the blade free. Then, with all his strength, Lucas punched the assassin in the jaw. The mask cracked. The assassin fell back. Stunned, Veller appeared beside them, her staff charged with energy. This ends now, she said. She struck the ground beside the assassin's head. A flash of light burst from her staff, and the energy wrapped around the assassin's body, freezing his muscles. He screamed, then passed out. The battle was over. Lucas fell to his knees, breathing hard. Valari knelt beside him and touched his bleeding shoulder. You are hurt again. Lucas coughed. I'll live. You fought without hesitation, she said softly. Didn't want to lose a guest. He replied with a weak grin. She smiled. You are more than a host now. Her hands glowed softly as she applied more healing gel. The wound closed. Lucas looked at the unconscious assassin. Why do they want you dead so badly? 'Cause I choose peace, she said, and peace frightens those who live in hatred. Lucas shook his head. Seems like the war isn't over for some of them, no, she said quietly. But this is proof it must end. Later, human and Zarelian guards surrounded the area. The assassin was taken away in stasis cuffs. Officers gave confused and concerned looks. A queen had almost died inside a human base. It would cause problems. Lucas stood beside the broken tent, wrapping his shoulder in fresh bandages. Valari approached him. They will talk, she said. They will ask why I was with you. Why you risked your life. Let them talk, Lucas said. I'm not ashamed. She studied him carefully. Nor am I. Then she reached into her robe and pulled out a silver band. In my people's tradition, she said. This is given to those who have defended royal life with honor. It is not often given to outsiders. She placed it in his hand. Lucas looked at the band. It was simple, yet beautiful, etched with glowing lines that shifted in the light. Thank you, he said quietly. You are now a warden of the bridge, she said, a symbol of trust between species. Lucas chuckled. Sounds like a big job. It is, she replied. But you were ready. As dawn approached, Lucas began setting up a new tent. The old one was torn and muddy. His gear was soaked. He didn't complain. Valari stood nearby, watching the sunrise. She looked back at him. Do you have space for one more? Lucas raised an eyebrow. You still want to share a tent after? All that? She nodded. I trust you more than I trust silence. Lucas smiled. Then yes, always. And as the sun rose over the strange moon, a new tent stood on the edge of the camp's mall, simple and shared, not just by a soldier and a queen, but by two warriors from two worlds, now bound by survival, courage, and a promise of peace. The base was buzzing with activity, but tension hung heavy in the air. News of the attack on Queen Valari had spread like wildfire. Soldiers whispered in small groups, eyes darting nervously toward the human tent where the queen had stayed. The human commanders gathered in the central command tent, faces grim. Among them was Colonel Marcus Hale, a seasoned officer who had fought throughout the war. This incident is dangerous, Marcus said firmly. The queen's presence in a soldier's tent, especially a junior officer's, raises questions. The council will not look kindly on this. Lieutenant Harris, a young officer, eager to prove himself, nodded. It could be seen as a scandal. We need to keep control. Meanwhile, outside, Lucas and Valari prepared for the tribunal. It was a meeting called by both human and Zarelian leaders to decide what should happen next. Lucas adjusted his uniform, feeling the weight of the silver band on his wrist. Valari's expression was calm but resolute. As they entered the large tent where the tribunal was held, they faced a room full of faces, some stern, some curious, some angry. The chairman, human diplomat named General Collins, spoke first. Queen. Valari, Sergeant Reeve, the council, has concerns about your actions. The queen staying in a human tent overnight. Is this appropriate for royalty? Valari's voice was steady. I made a choice based on trust. I chose to stay where I felt safe. I trusted Sergeant Reeve. Murmurs rose from the crowd. A Zarelian counselor stood. Such behavior could undermine our traditions, offending both our peoples. Lucas stepped forward. With all due respect, this isn't about tradition. It's about survival. The queen needed shelter, and I offered it. No harm was done. Another officer interrupted. But appearances matter. The political leaders will use this against the peace process. Valari raised her hand. If appearance is all we care about, peace will remain a dream. The room grew quiet. General Collins nodded slowly. Very well. Sergeant Reeve, what do you have to say? Lucas spoke with quiet confidence. Stand. By my actions, I protected the queen because it was right. It's not because of politics. Valari looked at him with respect. The tribunal debated for hours. Some wanted to punish Lucas. Others wanted to punish Valari. But many saw something new, a chance for change. Finally, Valari made a bold decision. She turned to her guards and dismissed them with a wave. I will walk beside this human, unarmed, as an equal. Gasps filled the room. Lucas's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" she said. "Trust is not built with weapons or guards. It is built with courage." Together, they stepped outside, hand in hand not as queen and soldier, but as allies. The crowd watched, stunned. From that moment, the walls between humans and Xerelians began to crumble. Lucas became the first bridge warden, a symbol of hope, unity, and trust. The queen's choice sent ripples through both worlds, and for the first time in many moons, peace felt possible. Weeks passed since the attack and the tribunal. The fragile peace between humans and Xerelians was slowly growing stronger. Soldiers and diplomats from both sides worked hard to rebuild trust. At the center of this effort stood Sergeant Lucas. Reeve and Queen Valerie, two unlikely friends, whose shared night had changed everything. A great ceremony was planned at the neutral zone central square on Sirius 4. The leaders of both species would sign the final peace accord, marking an end to the war that had lasted so long. The square was decorated with banners from Earth and Xyrix Prime, lights shining under the alien moons. Crowds gathered, soldiers, civilians, diplomats, all waiting for a moment that felt like history. Lucas stood beside the queen. Her shimmering skin caught the light, and her crown of living metal glowed softly. She smiled at him, a rare, warm smile. "Do you remember the night you stayed in my tent?" Lucas asked quietly. Valerie laughed softly. "How could I forget? It was the night everything changed." Lucas looked around. "I never imagined we would come this far," Valerie nodded. "Neither did I, but trust is stronger than fear." The ceremony began. Leaders from both sides spoke about hope, courage, and the future. When it was time to sign the accord, Valerie stepped forward, holding a glowing pen crafted from crystal. Lucas gave her a steady look. "This is your moment." Looked at the pen, then back at Lucas. "No, this is our moment." With that, she dipped the pen into the glowing ink and signed her name. Lucas then signed beside her, symbolizing the new alliance. The crowd erupted in cheers. That night, as the celebration continued, Lucas and Valerie walked to the quiet side of the camp. The new tent, larger and stronger than the old one, waited for them. Valerie turned to Lucas. "Would you join me inside?" He smiled. "I wouldn't miss it." Inside they shared 2 cups of Xerelian nectar, a sweet, glowing drink that symbolized friendship. They talked about the future, the peace they hoped to build, the children who might one day live without war. Valerie looked at Lucas with something new in her eyes. "You have changed more than this base." "Lucas, you have changed me." Lucas shook his head. "You changed me too. I never thought a queen could be my friend." Valerie laughed. "Friends, yes, perhaps more, someday." The night grew quiet. Outside, the stars shone bright over Sirius 4. For the first time, too, worlds were truly united not by treaties or armies, but by the simple power of trust, courage, and a night shared in one small tent. For Lieutenant Jackson Reed, that sentence still felt strange. He had survived 2 years of brutal fighting on alien worlds in mud, ash, and ice. He had watched friends die, cities burn, and soldiers break. But somehow, Earth and its allies had won. Now, the galaxy was quiet. Oh, too quiet. He sat alone on a bench outside the military outpost, sipping cold coffee, staring at the stars above. The outpost orbited a small blue planet used for peacekeeping patrols. It wasn't home, but it was safe. "Lieutenant Reed," a voice called. Jackson stood up. A messenger in a clean white uniform approached, carrying a glowing scroll. It was shaped like a crystal, floating slightly in the air, humming with alien energy. This arrived through the Valerie diplomatic channel. "For you," Jackson raised an eyebrow. "The Valerie, that's royalty stuff. Are you sure it's for me?" "Yes, sir. Carries your DNA code." Cautiously, Jackson took the crystal scroll. Soon as his fingers touched it, the scroll lit up with a soft golden glow and a musical chime. The message played in a clear voice, a female voice, soft and noble. To Lieutenant Jackson Reed of the Terran Forces, you are hereby invited to the royal wedding of Princess Eilary of the Valerie Dominion. Your presence is not only requested, but honored. Jackson blinked. A wedding? Valerie Princess. Him. 2 days later, Jackson was aboard a sleek alien shuttle, flying through slipspace faster than light. He still didn't know why he had been invited. He wasn't a high officer. He wasn't famous. In fact, after the war, he had asked to be forgotten. No medals, no speeches. But command had insisted. The Valari don't invite random people, General Rhodes had told him. If they want you at that wedding, you go. It's politics now. Jackson hated politics. He preferred clear orders and visible enemies. But the Valari had helped end the war. Earth was now part of a fragile galactic alliance, in keeping. Peace meant showing respect. So here he was, flying into the heart of the Valari Dominion. Their world was breathtaking, from orbit. The Valari capital shimmered like a city of glass, gold and green light. Floating towers spun gently in the sky, connected by glowing bridges and vines of living metal. Waterfalls flowed sideways, crystals bloomed like flowers. Creatures with wings made of energy danced in the air. Jackson stared out the window, speechless. His escort, a calm Valari diplomat named Cirrus, smiled. Welcome to Valara, human. The princess is most eager to see you. That made Jackson frown. Why, I don't even know her. Ciri tilted her head, eyes glowing faintly. She remembers you well. Before Jackson could ask what that meant, the shuttle landed at a golden courtyard where dozens of Valari stood waiting. They wore long robes that sparkled like starlight. Each one bowed slightly as he passed, murmuring strange greetings. May the bond remain strong. A flame once lit cannot be undone. You honor the house of the living moon. Jackson forced a polite smile, but inside he was panicking. Why do they talk like I'm already part of the royal family? The palace was a wonder. Shaped like a blooming flower, it opened to the sky. Its walls were a life-changing color, with the sun and responding to emotion. Inside, he was taken to a guest chamber that felt more like a dream. Floating lights, soft music, a warm breeze with the scent of glowing flowers. He could barely understand what half the machines did. Later that evening, a servant entered his chamber. The princess invites you to the pre-wedding feast. The great hall was filled with music, laughter, and strange beauty. Long crystal tables stretched across a garden floor. Trees glowed gently, their fruit pulsing with soft light. Creatures flew between branches, singing in high tones. Dozens of guests from different worlds sat, talked, and danced. Jackson stood, quietly at the edge, unsure what to do. Then she appeared. Princess Eilary entered the hall like a beam of sunlight. She wore a dress made of silver thread and living light. Her eyes were deep violet, her hair white and flowing like starlight. Everyone stood as she passed, bowing their heads. She walked straight toward Jackson. Lieutenant Red, she said softly. You came. Jackson nodded awkwardly. Yes, Your Highness. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Laurie smiled. A mix of grace and mystery. It is I who must thank you. Before he could ask what she meant, she extended her hand. Come sit with me. They sat at the high table. Jackson tried not to stare, but it was hard. She was beautiful, yes, but there was more. Strange sense of recognition, like he had seen her before. Somewhere she offered him food that shimmered and drinks that changed flavor as he sipped. She laughed gently at his confusion, never mocking, only amused. At one point, Jackson leaned in. Your Highness, forgive me, but why me? I'm just a soldier. I don't even remember meeting you. Hilary looked at him for a long moment. Perhaps not with your eyes, but your heart remembers. Do you recall the temple on Ethyon 4? Jackson's eyes narrowed. That name did spark a memory. The ruins. The wounded priestess. The collapsed ceiling. A rescue. He had pulled someone from the fire, wrapped their bleeding arm, whispered words to calm their fear. That was you? Said slowly. Yes, she whispered. And in that moment, you did more than save a life. You completed an ancient rite, Jackson blinked. Right, Alari nodded. The flame bond, a connection that goes beyond time. It's rare, sacred, and cannot be undone. His heart began to race. Wait, I thought I was just helping you were. But in our culture, such an act given freely, without asking for return awakens the bond. You gave without knowing, and I accepted. My people saw it. The bond was sealed. Jackson stood. Slowly, stunned. So this wedding. She rose too, placing a gentle hand on his. Is ours. Jackson couldn't sleep that night. He paced his chamber, heart pounding. Was this a mistake? A joke? Some alien custom gone too far? But no, she had looked at him with such peace, such honesty. She wasn't trying to trick him. She had chosen him, and somehow, without meaning to, he had chosen her too. Still, it was too much, too fast. He wasn't ready for this. But the bond, it was real. And now the galaxy was watching.